We've been building towards this for so long now. You think back to the very beginning of the very first episode, and it's Beyond the Wall where the White Walkers are stalking a group of rangers. So this is the culmination of one of the key storylines in the whole show.
We finally get to see this big threat of mythical creatures arriving where they once were banned from thousands of years ago. This is really gonna be a big payoff for 7 seasons of working towards that.
We've been talking for a long time how the Night King's forces have been growing in power and most of the living have been kind of openly disdainful of the threat, and now there's no choice but to fight it.
Yes, now we're gonna have to fight it for approximately 82 minutes until the Night King disappears like he never existed, without closure of who he is, what he wants, and why he does it. That's what spin-offs are for.
I really love the way the first 10 minutes or so plays out because there's so much tension before there's any encounter with the enemy.
72 minutes. Maybe less. Depends on how many scenes are gonna involve Bran staring at people.
It was important to have that moment of hope when Mel comes in and lights up the rocks and they all ride off into battle.
It's something that we always love to do, to crush our viewers' hopes and dreams of plans working out.
We wanted our characters to feel like maybe this is all going to work out. Maybe things are all going to be okay.
This is your heart, and this is your heart watching Game of Thrones. It's gone.
What they see is just the end of the Dothraki, essentially.
That is, if you can see it.
We thought it was important that whatever the plan was, that it not just work out, because that would be kind of dull.
With that mindset, we wrote this entire season.
We hope to kind of avoid the expected, and Jon Snow has always been the hero, the one who's been the savior, but it just didn't seem right to us for this moment.
We actually foreshadowed this battle's ending back in season 6 during the Battle of the Bastards. Jon clearly was the hero back then when he managed to fuck things up for his soldiers until his sister came in to save them all.
The beginning of 804 is a chance for the characters in the show to say goodbye.
We wanted to say our last farewells to the fallen. Jorah and Lyanna Mormont, Theon Greyjoy, Beric Dondarrion, Ed, and most importantly, logic and our sense of storytelling.
He thinks he can have it both ways, that he can tell Arya and Sansa the truth about who he really is, and he can maintain his loyalty to Dany, and everyone's going to learn to live together.
I think it's great to see that despite everything, some things never change, such as Jon Snow still not knowing anything. You're like, character development? Who is she? We don't know her. Jon Snow for sure doesn't. That's basically his entire existence.
One thing everybody who comes into contact with this information seems to understand is how incendiary the information is.
Except for Sansa Stark, who obviously doesn't know the concept of secrecy.
Tyrion kind of calls out the elephant in the room, and it manages to drive Brienne out of the room, and in doing so drives Jaime out of the room as well. Even as drunk as they both are, it's impossible for them to confront what they're doing with words even as they're doing it until the very end of the scene. The vulnerability that they show runs very counter to who they are as people. I do believe that when Jaime decides to stay behind with Brienne, it's a choice that he makes with every intention of seeing it through. When he hears what Cersei's done, I think that's the turning point for him.
It's basically a one-night stand.
At that point, Jaime really has to take a really long, uncomfortable look at who he really is.
With Jaime's storyline, we thought it would be very poetic to let it come full circle by pushing his character development out the window.
While Dany kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet and Euron's forces, they certainly haven't forgotten about her.
For the majority of the time, Dany's head is literally in the clouds. That's why she tends to forget certain things. For instance, that she's riding a fire-breathing dragon and not a pigeon. It's not until Rhaegal falls from the sky that she realizes it's not a bird, not a plane, but a dragon. I needed that.
Danny knows that once Cersei has Missandei, that she's not going to see Missandei alive again.
Unlike Tyrion, Dany hasn't forgotten who she's dealing with once she remembers that she has enemies to look out for. That's why she's aware that Missandei's name is spelled Missandei and that the poor girl's probably gonna die.
I think what's probably echoing in Dany's head in those final moments would be Missandei's final words.
What's echoing in everybody's head is probably the fact that both executive producers don't know how to properly spell out one of the characters' names. It's Missandei. Or maybe they have just forgotten how it's spelled. At this point in the story, you really need to ask yourself, who is the true villain? Back in episode 2, when Bran revealed the Night King's plans of killing him with the intention of destroying all memory of men, that really raises the question, who is the nemesis? The Night King? Cersei? Or is it actually Alzheimer's disease?